And his policies, while progressive, aren't necessarily socialist policies. The sad reality is that Mamdani's platform and political goals seem radical and extreme in a country that's been ruled by neoliberal fascists for around 50 years.
I mean, you can't actually invoke socialism as a mayor, right? You can take steps. You can empower unions. You can work with them. You can culturally bolster the cause, but there's not really any way to do socialism as a you can push the envelope. Yeah, something Overton window, you know?
Part of the reason that I was writing so hard for was because I like New York City is one of the cities where like it's like, okay, like directly depending on who you put in as mayor, they have so much real power. And it's like there's a very real impact to who gets in there. So it's like I can't even pretend to be anti-electoral in this sense because it's going to be so direct and so many like
the goal is you're trying to prove that these ideas work on a small scale, right? When you freeze the rent, when you push for the construction of new affordable housing, when you build like government-run grocery stores, or you make the daycare free, what you are essentially showing is, yes, these things can work. You can decommodify elements of the economy and let them just be paid with taxes contributed by the wealthy, and it can work. These processes can work, and you're basically selling people on the soft case there. You know what I mean? It's very important because nobody, and I mean not even like sensible socialists, are going to press the big red button on national policy unless they can point to effective implementations of those policies on a local level, right? Like we don't want to do housing Lysenkoism here, where you have like an ideologue at the top level being like, yeah, this should work. This feels woke to me. This feels based. Meh. And then it turns out there's some fiddly nuance to the details of implementation that makes it like fucked and it doesn't work in the long run, you know? It's not what you want. You want to make sure these things work on a small use case.
People get mad at me where they're like, oh, well, isn't it great that like he's like at least putting the name of socialism out there? I'm like, well, this isn't socialist. Like none of this is socialism. And it's like I have to like clarify. It's like this is like at best like a social. He's just running some like I kept saying like good municipal policies. Like
it's all rebranding.
It's not socialist in the sense that you're seizing the means of production and decommodifying all industry or whatever. But you know, given like what a mayor can actually do, I feel like he's pushing about as hard as you really can, reasonably. You know what I mean? Like, what more could you do on a municipal level? You can't like nationalize everything. You can't decommodify all housing or seize industry or anything. You don't have a standing army to defend like your new social experiment against the Pentagon or whatever. I don't really know. You have to prove these things can work.
Rent freezes and affordability isn't socialism. It's regulation of what is still very much a free market. The only seemingly socialist plan.
Well, it's definitionally not a free market if you're doing stuff like rent freezes, though. Not even close. Like that's a pretty heavy-handed intervention by the state. I mean, yeah, again, he literally can't invoke socialism. So I guess the question is, would you prefer it if Mamdani said, I'm a social democrat and I'm here to do social democracy? Even if in his heart he is a socialist, but he's doing the most that he can? Or would you prefer him to say, look at what I as a socialist have to offer you. Through policies that I advocate for, I can reduce your cost of living. I can make this city better. Now imagine what I could do. Imagine what we could do with more power. You know, like I'm the mayor now. Imagine if somebody calling themselves a socialist was president. Imagine if we were capable of making decisions beyond the municipal. That to me is, I think, the point, right? Like most every politician that gets elected here in the United States is a capitalist. Usually they're not really making an affirmative case for capitalism. They just kind of accept the status quo, and people accept what they consider as normal. But for socialism, I think you have to make a positive case because it's not the status quo. You have to argue like, look, this is but a small taste of what we can offer you. This is what our ideology can do, you know?
If Mamdani fails, or to be realistic, whenever he does inevitably fail at something, it will be presented in the cultural zeitgeist as a failure of leftist ideology as a whole, regardless of what favor of left you abide by. We're all just being represented by Mamdani on the main stage right now. Whatever he does is a reflection on us. It's hard enough to have folks differentiate the left from liberals. Now that someone is ostensibly a leftist is in office, that differentiation is going to be even harder for people. However,
I just don't think this is true. I don't think this is a real problem. I think this is only a problem if your sense of identity and self-worth is derived from disagreeing with liberals, you know? It just, you know this is a bad idea because on the far right, they're the exact opposite. The far right, notably much more successful at infiltrating their party, by the way. The far right loves it when there's just a general blur of ideas that pull the general electorate towards them. You know what I mean? They don't want to be thought of as Nazis, even though a bunch of them are. They're like, nah, actually, it's just based in conservative. Real conservatism is when you don't let any immigrants in. And because they don't purity test the fuck out of their own group, they've been much more successful in taking over the White House.
More insidiously is the fact that Mamdani represents the left while not actually needing to govern as a socialist or Marxist, etc. This gives Mamdani a lot of power that can be used to ultimately further marginalize actual leftist ideology in this country, whether
no. Again, this to me seems like it's only a concern if you're really invested in purity testing for the sake of your identity as an internet communist. I just don't. Yeah, this actual leftist thing, I don't understand. Advocate for the policies that you care about and make a positive case that the things that you believe in, the ways that you want to govern, improve people's lives. You know, I don't really care about this, to be honest. Do you see this on the other side? Do you see the neo-Nazis being like, no, by calling neo-Nazism conservatism and blending the two, you're distorting the real definition of Nazism? Actually, you do see it sometimes, but those are like the most ineffective loser far-right people on Twitter, you know? Like, they're not in the White House. Yeah, they're mocked for it.
This is important to keep in mind because Mamdani is legitimately a paradox. He represents both a huge win for the left and in the world of electoralism, but that fundamentally is not necessarily a win.
I don't think that's a paradox at all. I don't think it's a paradox for a leftist to win an election. I think it's possible for us to do that. We should raise our standards.
We have to resist the stand moment that is developing behind him. We have to resist stand culture in general, but that's another video. And the thing that makes me realize—
Oh, I disagree with that completely. Our only shot at winning power is through cults of personality. It's always been like that for every side. Like for that's just modern politics, especially in a post-social media world, you know? I don't think there's any giving up on that at all. You kind of have to. It's unfortunate, but it's the only thing that you can really do. Being like a hardcore supporter for a candidate does not come at the expense of representing your own power. You're not ceding power to that person. It's a reflection of the fact that the base of support is the power. You know, Mamdani wouldn't be able to get anything done and won't be able to get anything done if he doesn't have extremely ardent supporters. You need to stand by them, you know? God, look at how much Trump has been able to do just in large part because everyone has like his crew is ride or die. He's gotten away with so much